Lieutenant, this letter makes it look like your client had a motive to kill Santiago.
That's right. Our motives are selfish.
It looks like the ʻmoʊ.t have a
She'd
motive.
have some type of ulterior motive.
Hey, somebody who explained to me the motive of a newspaper.
And there was no more definite motive you can think of, Mrs. Wade, that he might have had.
Provided a motive, and the prosecuting attorney
Though
said
the
same.
motives which governed me may to you appear insufficient.
Never will, because I'm a total stranger to everybody with no motive.
You got motive.
I do not have motive.
Been asking me about my
She
motive.
plunged repeatedly and without motive into the bar.
Right. Is that all?
Lieutenant, this letter makes it look like your client had a motive to kill Santiago.
Gotcha. And Santiago is who?
He doesn't want any attention.
That's right. Our motives are selfish. So we're cooperating.
So cooperate, Miss Bracken. Why was Susan Leffert to the Night Owl?
Anti-air rights. Looks like the ʻmoʊ.t have a motive. What's the bigger picture?
If Beverly knew that this individual was not her son, then she had to have some type of ulterior motive, and it had to be something
Someday, somebody will explain to me the motive of a newspaper. First, you scream, find the bastard.
I asked Mr. Marlett to stay.
And there was no more definite motive you can think of, Mrs. Wade, that he might have had for killing himself.
Listen, why don't you just stop? Why don't you get a couple of sand crabs?
Don't exactly prove anything. It's just part of the picture.
You said it provided a motive, and the prosecuting attorney said the same thing. I don't think that was a very strong motive. This boy's
So that of your sister and Mr. Bingley. Though the motives which governed me may to you appear insufficient. They were in the service of a friend.
To go to the prison for the rest of your life?
Of me, and they never will, because I'm a total stranger to everybody with no motive. This will be just another
He's a psycho we just caught on tape. You got motive.
I do not have motive. I don't have motive unless I have him.
Destiny. You've been asking me about my motives.
Right.
My methods.
Right.
Knife borrowed from the chef, with whom he was in league, which he plunged repeatedly and without motive into the body of his suitably astonished victim. Anyway, we know that...
We've got one dead guy, not three.
No motive.
Don't even start that big brain of yours cooking on.
What's this?
The motive. Just hold on to it.
What are we playing, Clue? Stopped. Gruesome.
Shedding tears for Darby?
Not quite.
See your wheels turning. Think motive. Who has one?
The husband, the father. What do we know about him?
Most likely. 3 men have been following you for the last half mile. Their motives highly unsavory.
The information they're giving is valuable and truthful, like with Watergate or the Pentagon Papers, then their motives really don't matter. Any real journalist would be prepared to put up with the discomfort.
Let's take one of the old stock motives. Had Margot made a will? Yes, I believe she had. Who's the benefit?
He just never had the murder weapon to present as evidence, and he never gave the jury a motive for the murder. The tension of his task...
He's got a real motive.
Yeah, maybe. But a motive, as you and I both painfully know, is not a case.
I'm torn, because the Rice murder was clearly an afterthought, but
Mostly it was mere hysteria. But there were men with better motives, men who saw the times were critical and wanted a man's part. Good men wasted.
No one had ever seen the assassin before or knew his motives. But in my humble opinion, it was law.
As the voyage continued, the Nautilus and its motive power excited my utmost curiosity.
Authorities are still trying to determine the motive behind this daring attack here at the office of the U.S. Diplomatic Security Service in downtown.
It is difficult for people like us to understand the motives of a true adventurer. You and I are not men of action, my friend.
Oh, but that is the point. Time. Each of you had a motive for killing Higgins after you'd recognized him, and which of you had time?
Victim than criminal, if my supposition is right.
I'm always worried, sir, when I find myself allowing the motive to mitigate the crime.
Yes, our jobs would be much easier if we just had to deal...
The good are never sure, and in the end they'll let you down. Our motives are different, agreed. But our goal is the same. And that's the only thing that...
The motive. Ah, I knew you were going to bring that up, Colonel. I've read enough detective stories to know that there must always be a motive. And if you'll all excuse me a moment, I'll supply that too.
In the farewell performance of one, S.R. Haddon,
A man with the means, the motive, and the opportunity to play you, and indeed the rest of us, as pawns in the biggest, the most elaborate, the most...
Padre, these are subtleties. We're not concerned with motives, with a higher ethics. We are concerned only with cutting down crime.
Possible reason. And how?
The motive is simple. Ego. If we were not to solve this crime, he would indeed be named...
Similarities and dissimilarities, say, from Ted Bundy's modus operandi as compared to John Forst's.
Betty, I'm beginning to doubt my motives.
I wish you'd get out. And I don't mean...
Knowing that the book wasn't there.
Well, we're assuming that the book is the motive. What if the motive is completely different?
Did you hear something?
What the hell is that?
It's outside. Maybe he is.
He's got a criminal record, assault, as well as a motive. He owes money through his ears. So he creates an opportunity, driving alone on a deserted...
I just thought you should know that before you start questioning his motives.
Mademoiselle, I cannot be persuaded by your protestations. To my mind, you had the means, the motive, the opportunity, and what is more, the disposition to kill.
Serious case. They never found out who killed her. They never even found a motive. I've tried to get in the house many and many a time. I think it was...
He had access to the gun, and he's on the funds board. He had motive and opportunity.
Who the fuck are you, Kneebomb? It was your name Nate mentioned when he said internal affairs.
Me anywhere, you dig? You're holding the wrong man.
What do you mean I'm holding the wrong man? I got the motive, which is money, and the body, which is dead.
What makes you so sure?
Why do you doubt it?
Because...
Did you hear anything? I don't know how familiar you are with investigative work, but there's this thing called motive, and you just gave yourself one.
Demons have already been at work here in West Memphis.
Worship of evil debated as motive in killings.
This article in the West Memphis Evening Times claims that people...
What about Wally Fay? How do you know he didn't do it?
Fay had no motive. This man had. You see, Mrs. Barrigan, we start out with nothing. Just a corn.
But the facts? You are forgetting the most important fact. Motive. He beat her. He was Spanish. He tore her dress up.
He was tempted beyond endurance. The motive was clearly justified.
Aye, but was the act?
That special considerations must be made in this case, saying that the entire work of Ernst Janning was inspired by one motive and one motive only, the endeavor to preserve justice and...
It was Dusty. He had a motive. He knew you both. He visited that morning.
If I could answer that for sure.
In the world of debate about public affairs, many things done with motives that are less than admirable are nonetheless protected by the First Amendment.
At 2nd and Broadway at 6 o'clock tonight. There's no, they have no idea on a motive. The victim, however, has been...
Shuttle yesterday.
Motive?
Motive? How about $50 billion? How's that for a motive? Oh, here, let me get...
The way we saw it, the police had stronger motives than anyone. The rumour was we were all under observation. So how the fuck...
That's irrelevant.
No, look. It's our job to tell you what we've got. So far, we don't have motive.
As they were compiled, I too have curiosity, Major, though I suspect my motives are somewhat different. Cadet Louis.
And you've, despite your motives, you've always been an asset to this office. And you're a good kid.
When you sit with Burkett, there needs to be a line of questioning about his motives, his political leanings, his views on the president, why.
The plot to assassinate Senator Amidala.
No, Master, there appears to be no motive.
Do not assume anything, Obi-Wan.
It's a hot potato. Tossing it right into your lap.
Much obliged.
Your line of defense, however, will be lack of motive. Well, you will agree that we can rule out her crime of...
What would you like him to do? Put a hat on it and stand on Michigan Avenue? Come on, let it go.
What was the motive, John?
Brother?
That my method was wrong, but I hope you can understand my motive and will accept this.